5:15, and I call the meeting of the Affordable Housing Trust. To
Word.
order, I'm just, I am not feeling well today, so I'm not my top performer here. Okay. So planning board is gonna be a lot of fun. Anything else in the
As it
report?
pertains to this trust, no. That's about it.
Okay. So let's go to previous weeks.
You don't have new
That's
minutes
gonna
yet.
say, I didn't think we had any minutes yet, okay. Yeah, when Brian said his comments on the minutes, I got all excited, but they were for the
Oh,
CCC, not minutes, and I'm like, yeah. Okay,
Lauren finally caught up the Conservation Commission with all their minutes,
okay.
so.
Treasure,
Minutes.
Yeah.
yeah. Treasurer's report?
I'll just hand out so you can follow along. Very little changes, but I just want to, sorry.
Oh, right, fine with that. Is that, okay,
That's fine.
Sorry, I don't have it on the screen. So the balance has not changed of $111,121.16. But I want to bring your attention to a couple of things that I don't think I verbalized last week. But we do have one pending invoice, Mike, and that's for the CMRPC housing coordinator. It's been adjusted for $6,966.07.
You did mention it.
So that we'll take that balance down to $104,000. We also have the actions from the town meeting, annual town meeting, that have not been reflected through transfers or what Ken has to do. And those, I'll just run them through quickly. It's being reimbursed $11,935 for incorrect charges that they took from our account for insurance, property insurance. We talked about the correction for $3,749. That's just between accounts.
Yes.
That copy has a little bit more detail, might help you understand
Okay.
where it's coming from and what account will be credited, what account will be debited.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure I sent in a change request to Kenny already.
Okay, good. That's like there's no net impact on the balance here. Creation of a new account that will need for the $160,000 that's approved at the annual town meeting for Article 18. Then also recording of there was an article to transfer, this is the annual transfer of 10% reserve to the different reserve accounts of the CPA law. 10% has to go to reserve for housing. And that was approved at the meeting. It was $92,196. That also increase. There is important to note that is for housing. It is not in our control. It's CPC money, but it's a place that we can make that request of the CPC.
do you know what the total is now that we have in the CPC for affordable housing in the CPC? If we take the
Yes.
160 out and put the 10% in?
So right now it's 876,000.
Oh,
Kathy.
okay. And
That's prior to, that's like after they did the 10% last year.
okay,
So there'd be another 92,000 coming in.
okay,
What did you say in the what? 8 what?
876,890.
it's the last item here.
Yes.
It's written there in the last item.
So
At
that's
the very bottom. It says-
Right, good.
the community housing reserve, well, and that's controlled by the CPC. And that's where actually there's another 160,000 coming into our accounts. And then the
And that would be taken out of this.
93,000.
160 would be
Yes.
taken out of that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the community housing reserve will be, like, as you mentioned, 160,000 reduced and 93,000 increased.
So we'll have
10%
about
transfer,
800,000 in the housing.
roughly, yeah.
Don't get any ideas, Hank.
Can he hears?
He can hear us, he's muted, so. Okay.
Any questions?
No.
So I'll follow up with Kenny. I don't know if you know, Do all the transactions that come out of the annual town meeting take place after the state has? Do they review all the actions taken at the town meeting?
Yeah, everything gets
Verify that it's.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe that's why it has not been done as of May 31st.
Okay, I saw that Kenny sent out new ledgers as of June 4th. Were you on that?
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
so, okay, and that it was unchanged from that.
Okay.
Yeah, so then you're probably right, because that was a full month and a few days after town meeting, so.
Mhm.
When can we expect to be able to have that money in our accounts?
I don't know, I'll follow up with Kenny and I'll ask.
Yeah, because it's important.
Yeah.
If we're going through this tonight and voting
Yeah.
at the next meeting, it'd be helpful for us to
Mhm.
have that money on hand so we can fulfill a part of our obligation there. Okay,
Thanks, Mike.
It looks like I still haven't submitted the payment for the shared housing coordinator. That's 6,900. Would the trust be okay just authorizing me to go ahead and submit that on your behalf?
do we need a vote?
Yeah, if you could just vote.
Okay, could I have your motion to authorize town planner to pay the 600 and
6,966.
the share of, where is it? The share of the
Yeah.
housing trust share of the,
The adjusted
yeah,
amount.
Yeah.
Is that a motion? Okay, second.
You can just say so.
just say,
So moved.
okay, I thought Jean did it. You second?
Yes.
Okay,
Whatever, it doesn't matter.
all those in favor, Gina?
Shit.
Gina,
In favor. Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah.
In favor.
aye, okay, unanimous, okay, thank you. Okay, any other questions on the treasurer's report? Then let's just go right into 28 Hartford Avenue North. You know, you do have the, I don't know if everyone had a chance to look at the revised, land development agreement. I think there were a couple questions we had, Hank. I had a couple, that I thought we had raised, and I know that Brian had a couple. But I didn't know if everyone else had had a chance to look at it. Basically, at the last meeting, if folks recall, we, talked about, especially with the neighbors, some of the concerns, and some of the things that folks were interested in the agreement. And Hank, I think you did an excellent job of incorporating stuff, even issues that I wasn't sure you could. So thank you very much for that. So, why don't I just start with a couple of changes? I was hoping, to also get into that. The first changes, I thought we wanted to set a cap on the number. I'm sorry, I have something stuck in my throat. The cap on the number of bedrooms. Because the land development agreement still says a minimum of 4 bedrooms.
Yeah.
And I thought that in our discussions at the last meeting, we wanted to change that to a maximum of 4 bedrooms. And the other thing we wanted to do along the same lines is it talks about the minimum size of the house that will go up on that site. And I thought we also wanted a maximum size. So it'd be between, I think, 14 and 2,000. I think that's what we were-
1,800, did we say?
I thought it was 8. But we wanted a cap on it, because, we didn't want a McMansion. Not that you would do it, but it's good to have this stuff memorialized in an agreement. So we were hoping to have a map.
Yeah, we said maximum of 1,800.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So, so those were the first 2 questions, and I'm gonna go get a glass of water. So I can hear you, I'll just be around the corner. So,
Our standard design allows for 3 or 4 bedrooms. So if you want to edit in a limit of 4 bedrooms into the agreement, that would not be a problem.
okay,
And Paul, standard design is like 1425 or
It's 1560, but if you want to put a range on it, say 14 to 16 or 14 to 18, that would be fine.
I
Right,
think we talked about 14 to 18 is what we talked about at the meeting.
Yeah, that's fine.
that'd be, yep, you just have
That'd be fine.
your attorney edit that in appropriately and we'll be happy to agree to it.
We would like a little bit of flexibility on bedrooms through 3 versus 4, depending on site conditions. Sometimes we have to modify the standard plan to be 3 rather than 4, depending on site conditions. So if we
That's
could
why
say
we-
no
that's why
more
the
than 4,
Maximum bedrooms.
Yeah, yes,
So if it's the maximum, then
Yeah,
you've got that flexibility.
yeah, we want to say no more than 4 bedrooms.
Yes. You
So
think
you
about
That's
that.
could
great.
put 4 bedrooms
Yep.
in, but you couldn't 6, which
That's
would be
fine.
hard. Okay.
yeah, just know that it could end up at 3 depending on site conditions. That's
Yeah.
all.
Yeah, just as long as it's not more than 4. And the other question that I had was, this was a conversation we had a long time ago, but not at this meeting, because I think we wanted to, not the last meeting, we wanted to give a preference to Upton residents. And I think you guys said that that was possible to do a preference.
I mean, if you want to rank that in, housing in livable communities generally sets a preference at a maximum preference on a percentage. And if you only have 1 unit in the project, then there's no, they won't grant local preference. Typically with 2 units, they'll grant local preference on 1 of the 2. But if there's only 1, they won't. But again, if you want to, you can put it into the agreement and as long as it's conditional upon approval by EOHLC. Then when we do the LIP application, they'll tell us whether we can give you local preference or not.
Okay.
But again, it's unlikely that they'll grant it.
Okay. I might as well try. Is that okay with you, Mike?
Sure.
Okay.
I just don't know how to include that in LDA if it's contingent upon HLC.
Okay, I mean, are folks strongly, do you care? It's 1 unit.
I don't care.
Yeah, it was just raised like at a earlier meeting.
Sorry, do you?
No, please, sorry.
Yes, we do. We wanted them.
Sorry. I can't focus as it is.
So, I mean, I'm not wed to it. It was just something that a resident, I think they were talking about the Main Street, which is 60 yard. But it was something that people always want, was a preference for,
Mhm.
but I don't care on this one. Brian, do you care?
I'd like to minimize work, and if we know that it is not allowed by EHLC, is that right? Then I'd like not have to try to spend.
Time and
Okay.
Hank, is that a known fact that they do not allow it on? single?
Yeah, I can get a reference to I can get Michael a reference to the requirement at EOHLC in their LIP documentation.
All right.
That's been the case on past projects. They don't allow a preference on a single unit.
Okay,
fair enough. It's not waiting, things and things.
All right. Did we decide just not to?
yeah.
Okay. So you guys don't need me. Okay, and Brian, you had some,
In the construction site management, if we could add on explicit statement that on called Cape Breton, Cape Way, right?
Yeah.
Cape Way.
and it's Brett and
Right.
Oh, that's why I wanted that.
Yeah.
Cape Way, that we cannot, that there cannot be, sort of statement of fact that cannot be any trucks or cars parking, turning on that private road. So I think it worded kind of like, you'll work with safety and public works to minimize the impact of the site. But if we could explicitly call it out, Hank, that we cannot have that happen on that road.
Paul, can we manage that? That's that little street that is parallel to the driveway.
Yeah, I think we have to
Correct.
work out kind of where local parking is going to be for those days where we have larger groups. And that needs to be in coordination with the town.
Yep.
Yeah,
But I'm
we-
okay if you want to say specifically not on Cape Way.
That's great. Thank you.
So, yeah, I mean, technically Cape Way is not a road anyway. It's a driveway that's privately owned. It's just
Yep.
named Cape
But
Way.
that's-
So you
that's-
technically don't
that's
have
easy.
access to it anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But according to the residents there, people do use it to park big vehicle and then people can't get by and it ruts up the street. So people treat it as a public street. That's why it'd be good to explicitly
Sure.
Yeah.
state that.
We're going through the practice of specifically calling it out so that it doesn't happen. But I'm just pointing out that it shouldn't anyway.
And then, in our prior discussion with the abutters on Breton Road, there was a request that not heavy equipment be traveled through. It's a dead end, or parked, because it's a public road, but it was, I'm gonna see if I got this right. The residents improved it.
Oh, yeah, it's a private road.
Private.
That one's it's a weird distinction between Cape Way is essentially a driveway. Breton Road is a private road in the sense that the road itself is its own parcel. You know what I mean? It's separate from the house parcels. And so those homes front onto Breton Road versus Cape Way exists as like almost like an easement traveling through parcels of land. Yeah.
The concern there was the heavy equipment could damage that road that the residents had paid on their own to improve. So it is probably a suggestion would be, we explicitly define where the parking could be
Mhm.
Up front. Maybe put it in,
Mhm.
so we can address that question with the abutters and we have a solution in hand.
I actually think that was, I mean, there is the language here that they'll work with the town to find parking for volunteers. I would prefer not to. So it's pretty clear in there that there will be alternate, but I prefer just to leave it because I would like to sign this month if possible.
Yeah, but I do think that we should put in the restriction on the exact.
All that
the
stuff,
pro-
yes,
Okay,
but
but not the
But-
where the
but
parking.
to identify where the parking is, because I think it's gonna take a little while to work that.
Yeah.
I think it will too, that's why.
Yeah.
I think it's the,
I haven't got,
I am here, where if you look at where the,
Construction site management,
I haven't got any underlined in me yet.
yellow.
I haven't. Got it here.
This is today's copy, right?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, page 5 on the bottom.
There's a mystic between English quite like it doesn't phrase it from very well.
yes,
Oh, there it is. I'm sorry. I beg your pardon.
it's okay, ran out for a meeting, so you're still recovering.
Which I don't even know.
Yeah.
I forgot.
So, I mean, I think that you put that into the agreement that there will be alternative parking identified before you start working on this, and I'm comfortable with that. It's sort of the same thing that the town did here, when it's closing the parking lot off right outside town hall, like you said, where people could park.
Yep.
And some of it's on private, church land and stuff
Mhm.
like that, so.
Yeah, so we'll honor the private nature of those roads and not create a problem for the residents.
If that could be explicitly stated in the,
Sure.
And maybe I may re-reviewing something, but did we ever put in the 8:30 to 4:30?
they did, that was good. I mean, the residents,
Okay, great.
yeah, I was,
Perfect.
just to let, neighbors know, you were concerned about, the construction schedule, so they did explicitly say, between 8:30 and 4:30, on,
Monday to through Saturday.
yeah, on Mondays through Saturdays. But, I thought they'd be starting at 7 o'clock. I've never heard of construction starting at 8:30, so thank you very much for that, Hank.
You're welcome.
So Hank or Paul, you can actually control the contractors. I know a lot of them are under your direct control, like the volunteers, but the other ones are subcontractors. Kathy's point, that is restrictive and out of the norm for many
Yeah.
workers. I like seeing it in there. I always, in all the contracts I deal with, I want to make sure we can comply and not have an issue.
Especially with demo.
So I want to make sure that, yes, absolutely, we can have the ability to control those working hours. And like I said, that seems a little restrictive in my experience with some contractors.
We're not complaining, we just.
Yeah, I'm not
want to
complaining, but I
see
just
if
want to be able
yeah.
to make sure we get
Yeah,
all.
that certainly is the
comply.
case in some other places as well, where we can't start, very early in the morning. So I don't really see an issue with it.
Okay,
Yeah,
Good.
we'll tell people, this is what the residents want, and that's what we're gonna have to do.
Cool.
and then on that same section, on a prior meeting with some of the abutters, they wanted to know, and I think they're covering it in point 4, about sharing the process, the demolition process, and also, is it possible to notify them of the date when the demolition or hazardous waste removal and demolition will actually occur? Is that possible?
It is, obviously, we don't know those dates yet. We still have to apply for a permit and, get that work scheduled.
But once,
But
but
once we know, it can be communicated.
Just a question, how are communications done? Do you want people's email addresses, a butter, do you have a budget list, do you got? Because a lot of times that's the best way to do it, either flyer or, I don't know how you guys go about with community notifications.
I think email would be great if everybody has that. It'd be pretty easy to blast out information about what's happening.
Sue and Lance, is that something that you guys would be willing to share, your contact information?
I certainly would, but it's I don't always get in touch with all of my other neighbors. So, and in fact, one of my neighbors right out in front at 26 Hartford Avenue, she just sold her house. So I don't even know the new neighbors coming in. Her closing is tomorrow. So, I wouldn't want just, Cape Way and Breton Road, just Lance and I to be notified. I think, people across the street on Hartford Avenue North, I don't know what the best way to notify people would be, whether it's posting it on, the town website or sending out like a email notification, like a lot of times departments for Upton will send out an email to anyone on their list. But again, I mean, I personally don't have a problem sharing my email with Affordable Housing Trust.
I mean, typically,
Right,
we would have, somewhere along the line of the permitting process, we would have a public meeting, we would invite the abutters, first and
Okay.
second level abutters, and those people who want to be notified would tell us, and then we would use that, we would notify them.
The butters list you'll get from the assessor's office, like all the,
Yeah,
and you'll just send out letters to them?
we'll send out a notice of public meeting and let folks know that if they want to be on our contact list, they got to tell us who they are and how they want to be contacted.
That sounds fair.
Is that-
The only other thing I was gonna suggest is just do a mailing.
Yeah.
So it's going out. People check their mail, they check their mail, or they're put a notice on I know that this house location is a bit tough because the house is kind of far back and hard to see, but like if there was just like a posting on the site as well.
I was thinking on like one of the telephone poles out.
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
Okay.
That,
We always put signage on the site so we could, hang a flyer up.
Skywriter,
that'd be great.
demo starts, yeah.
We'll hire a skywriter, yeah.
Flyer, Skywriter.
No, I think posting on the site is probably the most appropriate.
Yeah.
People see that.
Okay.
Or effective, I should say.
But, so is there explicit language, Brian, you were thinking we should?
No, I think it's good, as long as you're aware there's some sensitivity to hazardous waste removal, the dates that those are occurring, being aware of that, and then also demolition dates. So I understand they're not known, obviously, now, but when they are, we could share it with the abutters.
Okay.
Your next question was? You had a whole slew of
On the municipal subsidy, the $125,000, and then also municipal study will include the waiver of applicable water and sewer hookup fees. So I think I know because of the discussion we've had. The waiver of the water and sewer hookup fees, that's incremental to the 125, right? You could interpret the language that's included in the 125, and I think that's not the intent, right?
No, Hank
We
and
could-
Paul, is that your understanding?
Yes,
That's-
yes.
Yeah. Maybe you could have your attorney sort that out so that it makes sense.
So the intent is for, and I'm confused. That water and sewer hookup fees is included with the 125 or in addition to the 125?
It says
In
will
in
include,
addition,
will include,
In
wait,
addition,
Their understanding is should be in addition.
Paul just said in addition.
in addition.
Okay.
That's the intent.
Okay.
I think the other part of that question, which we had at the last meeting, was this is the 125 plus the waiver of water and sewer hookup fees. That's all included in the 160 the town meeting appropriated, correct? We're not looking at another 125,000 subsidy.
I mean, generally the community can, it's up to the trust and the community how they handle it. They could transfer the cost of the fees from their CPA allocation, or the town would just waive them. A lot of communities will just waive the fee.
It makes sense.
Yeah, I guess my big question is this, and we talked about this, I think, the last minute, at the last meeting. This talks about 125,000. We appropriated 160,000.
Mhm.
And I just want to make sure that we're not talking 125 plus 160.
Right.
We're talking 125 is what we're looking at.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's my understanding.
I believe
Sounds
that's
like-
correct.
Okay.
And then how about building permit fees, other types of fees beyond water and sewer? Are those being waived? It's just water and sewer.
It was my understanding that we were also gonna do waivers for building fees, building permit fees. I don't know about conservation commission fees, but I mean, that would be requested upon filing for an NOI, with the Concom.
Right.
I'm
We haven't
allowed
gotten
to-
that far to do a filing to find out what it's going to be.
Well, I guess either way, the more administrative fees are, the building permit fees and sewer and water hookup. Brian, one of your questions was, when do we sort that out exactly? And you had suggested doing that sooner rather than later.
Well, because we don't have the authority to
Right,
waive those.
exactly.
So I just want to make sure that we do review that with
Mhm.
whoever's supposed to waive each one of the defined fees that are being waived.
Mhm.
We to get their approval.
Yeah.
And then today, I want to be really clear as to what fees are we asking to be waived.
Yeah.
And right now, it only says water and sewer. And I agree with you. I think in previous discussions, we had talked about building permit fees,
Mhm.
and that's not stated now.
Sure, yeah, we should have that.
And there's also, as I think you said, I think when you file with the Concom, there's $100, some filing fee, usually for any, you spend enough and you you have to file and pay for a
Well-
filing fee. So,
One of the fees we can't waive, there is I believe, a state fee that's associated with an NOI. When you file that, we obviously cannot waive that. That's a state fee, yeah.
So I hear that we'll update this document to read waiver of applicable water, sewer, and building permit fees.
and you want to put and other as
Okay.
feasible.
Yeah, I think if you just waive the water, sewer and building permit, we'll deal with the Concom on the rest of it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was suggesting. And I'll reach out to the town manager. I think the select board is meeting next Tuesday. I might be able to get onto the agenda to have them formally waive those fees
Yeah.
in association with this.
I would not anticipate a problem, but just make sure there is no problem.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good idea.
Just make sure it's done, yeah. Okay.
In control, the spirit of compliance, making sure we can comply both sides. In the insurance sections, I forget where it is. It states that the insurance has to be rated, the insurer has to be rated, I think, A1 or better. I just want to make sure that is your, I don't know if you know the insurer. For all these different required insurances, and if they are A1 or better.
I can
Thank you.
verify that.
Okay, you can come back to it. Hey, I just saw it.
Yeah,
It's,
I believe they are, but I will double check with our executive director.
It's just in the spirit of avoiding problems.
Yep, good, thank you.
And then all these other types of insurances, some of these were new to me. Are those typical insurances that you would carry on a project?
I mean, other municipalities have always required us to have those insurances. Some of those listed insurances may not apply. I don't remember which ones do. I mean, we'll have the ones that apply.
Yeah, so generally we carry certificate of liability and workers' comp are the two requirements that are usually put on us for any kind of permitting.
So could you just go back and look at the document and the
Sure.
insurances that, and make sure that if you're not planning to and you don't normally, you could just let us know and make sure we take those, we review that.
Sure,
and if
we can have our risk management people take a look at it.
Okay. And Mike, this came from our attorney?
Yeah,
Alan Boyle.
the document, yeah, I believe came from us.
That was it. Mike, I didn't bring my computer.
There is
I sent you a
another
few.
highlight here.
Oh, I'll
On
bring it up.
Habitat Sweat Equity participation will be, was whose was that? Wasn't mine. And the marketing plan.
I don't know.
Oh, sorry, I was looking at Brian's earlier question. I think we've got to all of your questions in your email.
Okay.
I just wasn't sure. There's another highlighted thing about sweat equity. And I didn't know what that was.
Oh, we asked the eventual homeowner, it's a habitat requirement. We asked the homeowners to participate in the construction of the home. And there's a variety of, they participate in the process. The family can participate, friends, et cetera. But typically we have folks spend time on the job site. I think it's 400 hours is what we look for. Again, that's part of the Habitat Partnership Agreement. And we make that known to the family applicants at the time when they apply as part of our marketing outreach. We'll hold meetings in the area and invite people who are interested in applying to come and talk with our folks, and we'll go over all of the requirements on them, because we asked them to get some education, financial education and budgeting and such, and to do sweat equity and to basically partner with Habitat in being a part of the process of building the home.
I mean, thank you. And the reason why I think that's highlighted is because I'm remembering now that was identified at the last meeting as missing from the document. I think that was.
That's what I thought. I thought I identified it being
Yeah,
missing, but then I
So you just
didn't know
wanted
why
to
it was
specifically.
added, and I didn't know why it was still.
It was added because it was in my notes to add it, and
Okay.
and Hank
Okay,
added it for us. Thank you.
yes, okay.
Yep.
And do we have, can you walk us through a timeline? Like if we sign this, by the middle of July, let's say. And if we have the money, I mean, if we sign this in the middle of July, what is the when would you need the funds by? What would your process be?
In terms of funds, what we typically ask folks to do is to give us reimbursement payments. As we do the work,
Okay.
we'll ask for our, percentage progress payments aligned with the work we do, and we'll provide copies of invoices and such you understand what we're spending.
But in terms of, okay, so when you start this, once we sign it, what steps do you do? What's your process?
Well, we have to go get regulatory approval, which is, we got to go through the EOHLC, so-called LIP process. And that typically takes 90 to 180 days. And then Paul, can you kind of give folks an idea of the construction schedule?
Yeah, so then we have to apply for a demo permit and we have to get approval from the state. So that's going to take some time. I don't think it would run any longer than what EOHLC will be.
But you have to do those concurrently, or can you, I mean,
So we will
Right,
initiate
sure.
them concurrently, and if EOHLC agrees that they will allow us to start before we have a regulatory agreement in place, then we will begin with the demo.
but you can apply for the permits while you're going through the,
We can't,
As soon
yeah.
as we,
Yeah,
as
they
soon as
can
we get
overlap.
site, the key event is we have to have site control. So in this case, we'd have to have the transfer of the deed, which would grant us site control.
okay. And you can't go to livable communities until you have that site control.
Right, right, that's correct. And we can't file the NOI and
Okay,
either. And you really can't file for the demo permit until you have site control.
and when would you start soliciting potential owners? And potential buyers?
As soon as we're confident what the project schedule will be, so probably in the fall.
Okay,
Yeah, we definitely want them to participate in the process as Hank was describing. So it's going to be earlier rather than later. But we want to make sure that we're into the building of the home before we start getting applicants.
you mean into the demo and building, or do you want the building demo before you?
I'd prefer to wait till building, not just demo. So that we have some activity that we can point to.
Because you were talking about this fairly, significant learning financial literacy and, all that stuff
Yeah,
too. So
yeah,
That follows later.
I mean, the building process is like 18 months.
okay. So you're talking maybe demo taking place at the beginning of 2026, if we're lucky?
Maybe the fall. I mean, depending what it takes to get the permit. Yeah,
Okay.
maybe in the fall. Obviously, we can't do that kind of work during the winter time. So if we miss sort of late November, mid-December at the very latest, it would push to next year.
Because I was just thinking, you were saying livable communities might take up to 180 days, so that was 6 months.
It could. But it's not for us to say kind of how long they're going to take to approve.
I think Joe just suggested that we get the fee waiver on for the July 1st select board meeting.
Well, that's good.
Just FYI.
Good. Hank or Paul, in the contract, this goes to compliance, so we don't fall out of compliance. It defines the construction performance period. It's, I'm sure you guys have looked at that, but some of these dates that we're talking about, when certain things happen, could be 6 months to get the EOHLC. That's putting it tight to some of these compliance pieces. Would you, if you could just review and make sure that you can do those dates, and so it's within 6 months of recording the deed, construction will begin. Within 24 months of filing the deed, construction is complete. In 25 months, I think it said, people move in, which I like.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure though, that that is a typical schedule and it is executable. And if it's not,
We,
maybe.
we,
give some
we can go over
lines.
that and make sure, we can go over that, and make sure we're comfortable with it.
All right, thank you.
Anybody have any other questions?
And just to follow up, I mean, with that question, I'm not, and I've mentioned the word compliance, I'm not anticipating to be saying you're out of compliance and we are partners. But that's why though, I just like the contract written, so we don't have to
Yeah.
file for extensions
Yeah.
and just trying to avoid discussions and issues.
That's great. Thank you.
Actually, I've got written in here, we can't do the engineering, or we won't do the engineering. Is that something we've kind of covered? From the last meeting, we said we wouldn't pay for the engineering. We wouldn't do the engineering. I've got it written down here, so it must have come off.
Where are you talking about?
We would-
Yeah, where we talked about the subsidy and waiving all the fees, etc. What somebody said, I forget who, we won't do the engineering. Quite well.
But I don't, we wouldn't be doing the engineering. I don't think, that's why I'm confused.
We wouldn't be, okay.
Where is
That
the,
seemed a bit superfluous. I wrote it down from just last month.
what page you want?
Oh, I haven't got page numbers, sorry.
You
About here.
have to count the minutes.
1, 2, 6, 3, 27. Not pull my pages apart, sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's where the municipal subsidy stuff is. Under municipal stuff, municipal subsidy. You see that?
The municipal providers.
And perhaps we were wondering if if they were wanting us to, that was some part of their,
But where is it? I don't see where it cites engineering.
it doesn't, but,
Okay,
but it was, if somebody raised that issue
okay.
at our last meeting.
But,
But that's not something that Habitat expects that we would do. They do the engineering stuff.
Yeah, that's our part.
Okay, then it, I don't know
We'll
why.
get an
that-
engineered site plan in place.
Sorry about that.
anybody else on the Affordable Housing Trust have any questions?
Nope, that was it.
Does anybody on the call have any questions?
No, I'm all set.
Okay. Sue, do you have any questions?
No, I'm all set. I'm good. Thanks.
And Lance has already
Go.
dropped off. Okay. Okay. Well, good. So seeing there are no more questions, I mean, my preference as far as, the timetable goes is it would be great if you could incorporate, I think there are just a few very minor changes, specifying Cape Way and Breton Road and, tweaking some language there and having your underwriter look at some of the insurance provisions. But, and if, you can reach out to Kenny and see when that money would be available.
I just sent him another email. I asked him a similar question about CPA stuff after our last meeting. Yeah, can I suggest, I didn't know if you wanted to take a vote tonight or not, but if you do, you might want to take a vote kind of affirming everything we've spoken about, and that the board, the trust would like to execute on the land development agreement when it is ready, and then I'll work with you and Hank and possibly town council to get the final document ready.
Okay.
Sounds like a good idea.
What do we gain by doing that? I never sign contracts.
Yeah.
Without seeing the final executable document.
For,
I
you
don't feel
will.
comfortable with it.
No, you will. I
Oh.
just, so maybe it doesn't accomplish that much.
But I mean, the spirit of the meeting, hopefully, is we're all excited about this.
Yeah.
We're all moving forward.
There's just a couple of small tasks.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You need to get the approval from, so and select board should approve that on June 1st. So there's a couple little things that have to be tweaked. And then why can't we just review the document? The
absolutely.
council can review the document and
Sure.
vote on it and in July. I mean, does that make sense
I
to
won't
you?
be here in mid-July, just so you know, I won't be here in mid-July.
Do you think we care?
I'm sure you don't.
You're gonna go break your arm somewhere again?
Probably, yeah.
Can we send it to you so you can review?
I'll be in the UK.
Um,
I mean, look,
Emails work there.
yeah, if I get access to email, yes, of course.
When are you coming back? What is your
End of July,
end of July?
a lot of family stuff to take care of.
And you're leaving
July the 4th.
July. And we can execute
Yeah,
it.
don't worry about me. If you want to send it to me and I'll look at it, it's fine. But I will be fairly preoccupied.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Hey, is there a timeline or a date? We all want to do this as early as possible. Is there a date though? Are we holding you up from some critical action?
I mean, we can't go ahead with any of the permitting until we have site control. And we're looking to use the LDA in place of a PNS to schedule a closing.
Okay. Is the,
I mean,
I'm sorry.
some housing trusts are willing to delegate to the chair of the trust the authority to review and approve the changes and then execute. I don't know if you folks follow that process or not. I'm a trustee in Westboro, and we've done that in Westboro in the past.
Where's the, I'm sorry,
No, it's okay.
where these changes we've noted, are they gonna come from Hank as what he's heard, or are they coming from us as he's saying, this is what we heard and would like you to review? I just want to make sure we have a driver of the actions.
I mean, I will make some edits, but I would strongly recommend you have your town council look at the document and make adjustments so that it's legally correct. I'm not an attorney, and I can't make sure that the language meets the standards that are normal for the legal profession.
So without a doubt, I'll have town council review this to prepare final language for the trust to sign.
And you got the notes, Mike, of what things.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
And so obviously you'll have a chance to review that before there's even an ask to endorse it. Whether or not the trust is gonna defer to Kathy and give her the ability to sign on behalf of the trust, or if the trust wants to come together again to review before it's signed. Either way.
Can we give Kathy that ability now?
You absolutely can.
We can vote on that tonight. What I would do is I would share the document before,
Yeah,
because I value other people's opinions, but our ability to have a meeting quickly.
Yeah.
During the summer months may not be.
I would suggest, and I would want to do this anyway, whereas when and if were you to do that and give Kathy the ability to execute on it, everybody would get a copy of the final document first, and you'd have the ability to read it, and if you wanted to pump the brakes and have a meeting,
Mhm.
you'd have the
Okay.
ability to voice that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how I would prefer to do it.
So the outstanding things, and I don't think these really need to, the only outstanding thing that's time sensitive is the waiver of the fees. That has to go before.
Yeah.
Which won't happen till July 1st.
Yep.
But you can check with your underwriters soon. You can have, just to confirm that all the insurance provisions are fine. You can make the changes and have counsel.
Yep.
When do you think we could actually have, minus the approval of
The waivers, yeah, I don't know, just because town, and so, I don't think I mentioned, I don't think this trust is aware, we're switching town council.
Oh,
So we're gonna have brand new town
Really?
council July 1st.
Wow.
so maybe it makes sense to have this done really quickly.
So that's what I was, yeah. And maybe it's worth, like I'm talking to Joe right now about like keeping current town council on for projects that we're wrapping up.
Mhm.
So maybe this is a good one to actually have on. I've
need to
for
get
other
other
things, I've been leading towards, yeah, actually maybe it'd be good to get a different point of view.
Yeah.
From a new town council, but nothing against our current town council, they've been great at KP Law. So anyway, I will make this a priority in hopes to have a final document shortly before the July 1st meeting or shortly after, so that we're kind of hitting it all in.
It's a selectmen's meeting, not our
Yeah,
meeting.
correct.
Yeah, yes.
So it'll be ready to go hopefully on July 2nd.
Yeah. So Hank, why don't we touch base, you, me, and I'll include Kathy. It doesn't have to be a meeting, but we'll just touch base on the edits of this document before I send it off to town council. I probably have some time this week, but not tomorrow, to do that. So do you want to maybe, we'll try to touch base on Thursday or Friday?
That'd be great.
But in the meantime, you're working on the edits, Mike.
Mhm.
We do need input though from Hank after he's reviewed the insurance section and
Yep.
also the construction permitting schedule. Make sure you feel comfortable with those dates or suggest adjustments.
Yeah, that shouldn't take very long.
Right.
That shouldn't take more than a day or two.
Is there anything we need to vote on now? No.
Um,
Is there anything we need to vote on now? Or no?
Yeah, the only thing we have to vote on is allowing me to,
Right.
do you want to recommend, hey, what is the language, that you might suggest to authorize me on behalf of the House?
The motion would be to authorize the chair to work with the town director of, I can't remember Michael's title, to finalize the document and to be empowered to execute.
I'll second that.
You should say.
So you have to
say
say
it.
it
I've
first.
learned that.
You can't make the motion. Okay.
I move that we will allow Kathy
The
to
chair.
work,
of the Board of
sorry,
Trustees,
to work with the town councillor and Michael to finalise it, and Hank to finalise the document. Is that what I have to say?
And execute.
And execute, sorry.
Yeah.
Right.
Second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor, Gina?
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous. I was gonna say anonymous, but that's not. Okay.
Great.
Any other questions on this or,
It's good.
okay,
It's all good.
okay, so thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your time and attention. I'm sure will be a great partnership and a great project. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Paul.
Bye.
Yes, thank you, folks. Good evening.
And, for the next step, seeing this is almost out of the way, hopefully we'll keep, everything will happen as we hope it will. I think it would be a good idea for our next meeting to really focus on, other affordable housing
Yeah. sounds good.
options, like where we can build, what we can build. Right now, we're in a safe harbor for about another 18 months, maybe. But I mean, that's not the motivating reason behind,
No.
moving forward, but we do have time to think. And so, I'm not sure, we do have an inventory of town property, available. I think Brian had discussed, and, we had, started doing this before we got down this rabbit hole about working with developers to see what they need to make, a project doable, because quite frankly, it's not worth it for a developer to build affordable housing of the scale we want it built. They have to build these mega developments. And so, to make it cost effective for them.
Yeah.
I think that would be, there's so many different things that, we can start talking. I mean, we do have 800,000 that would be available to us to see the project.
I think we should continue having discussions with the guy who built my house, what's his name? He's building the development down Lobiser, yeah. Because he wanted to,
Oh, I didn't realize he built that development that you're in.
yeah, he did. He's a good builder, he really is. He's a very good builder.
He's a conscientious.
He's a good guy. Yeah, he's a really good guy. He was interested in developing downtown, but with the church, it was a non-starter, unfortunately. But it's possible he would be interested in doing some more in this town. It's a place to start anyway.
He was also, it's tough doing 40B housing.
Yeah.
In a town because people,
He's very responsive to,
he is, but people don't want bigger, and the other uncertainty is what's going on with the state's ability to help
yeah,
fund,
good question.
to support. I mean, they don't really, they're not a major funder, but they do provide, sort of subsidies to developers.
That's
Yeah,
an
that's all.
okay.
It's,
Who knows?
most tax credits, though, it's majority is from Fed,
Which are probably,
Yeah, we're gonna lose some of that.
hopefully not.
I'm sure we will. I'd be shocked if we didn't, quite frankly.
so, so I think that's, I don't know how much, did you introduce Lauren?
I did not.
Oh.
She's been sitting here the whole time.
This
This is Lauren,
Lauren? Hey, Lauren, I'm Jeannie.
Lauren Grant, good Scottish name.
Graham. It's a very good Scots name.
And a little Scottish, yeah.
I've got a Scots first name. Jeannie is a Scots name.
And Grahams are my ancestors in Scotland, so we're probably cousins somewhere. You're Irish, you count.
Old Celtic.
Well,
Old Celtic.
Yeah.
The languages are very similar.
Yes.
Yeah, so Lauren is our first ever assistant planner. for the town.
congratulations.
Welcome. Please stay.
And she's lasted.
It's a great place to work. Great town,
We
great
haven't
staff,
been screaming yet.
great boss.
Where do you commute from?
I'm in Somerville right now.
Oh, my
so it's a little far. But I'm just subletting for the summer and then I'll probably move a little farther south. A little closer, hopefully, but we'll see.
That's good.
Are you kind of reverse commuting?
Yeah, so all the traffic stopped in the other direction.
Yeah.
Which is nice.
Yeah.
I still hit a
No,
little
it's
bit.
not, because I'm sometimes in traffic.
You said
I
it's a
still
bit
hit a
coming
bit on
from
that.
that. Yeah. Oh, like
Going directly west is not.
Yeah, good. Well, I hope you find something close by, close by.
That's why we need affordable housing.
Go get
And
that.
that's really matters.
Different town.
It's like this is nothing that regular folk can really afford out here. So,
I keep saying you want to go where my daughter lives, you think it isn't affordable here.
build
It
it
isn't
easy with my backyard and rent it out. But yeah, and are you gonna be working on the affordable, are you working on everything or what is your, or haven't you decided that yet?
So I think I can answer that on your behalf. She'll be working all the boards that Grace was. And I'll also have her help out on zoning board stuff, but she's not gonna be dedicated staff to zoning board. But she's here for Affordable Housing Trust. She's at CPC, Planning Board. What's the other one?
Conservation.
Conservation, yeah, sorry, conservation, yeah.
Because I think with Grace, her love was affordable housing. She loved housing, and I think that's what she wanted to really start focusing on. So, I just, because we desperately, we need to be able to look at, one of my fantasies has always been to talk to somebody like Lobaser about doing small, like 25, 30 unit
Yeah.
villages. And then Brian went to look at something in Medway. There was a village that had, was a,
90-something units.
yeah, and it had like store, like amenities too, right?
Yes, yeah, they had housing support programs for the residents, a community room. It's very nice.
Oh, was it mixed? It had senior component.
Yes, yeah. 3 buildings, so seniors, single bedrooms and also family units.
Because I'm sort of thinking, one of the things I've heard from a lot of people recently is the need in Upton for something for seniors. Because there is no place for, not houses, but there's no place for somebody, for seniors that want, like affordable,
Mhm.
easy,
How does Mill House fit into that?
that's different. It's,
How is it different? Explain.
Mill House has it has a lot of, it's for,
It's assisted living, right?
No, silly.
Oh, it's not.
No,
No, but it's, you know. I think people. I just don't think Millhouse is for everybody. You know, it's not. You know,
but isn't it for low income seniors?
yeah. But, you know, and Burlington Table, there's a lot of non-seniors who live there that have disabilities
Yeah.
and stuff. And, you know, I think that the way Brian was explaining it, like the multi-generational things, the amenities available.
So that's what you're really getting at.
Yes,
it's generational.
Yeah,
Rebecca, can I
Right.
interrupt for a second and offer, I think what we're talking about is the planning term of missing middle. So high dense 60-unit apartment buildings, which we have going in, versus insanely low dense
Yeah.
mansions, which we have on every other street.
yeah,
Yeah,
everywhere in Upton, yeah.
Right, so, but what you don't have is what you're describing.
Yeah.
Describing is, you know, maybe it's as dense as townhouses, maybe it's more like just reduced size. You know, almost like the ranches of the 1950s, you know, Levittown developments, where it's small lots, small homes, but individual lots and individual homes.
Yeah.
Affordable by way of not as much house, you know what I mean? Way less square, not
Yeah.
1,200 square feet versus 5,000 square feet sort of thing.
or
You
even
know, I-
some,
Oh, I just wanted to mention that, like, where my mom lives in New Jersey, she's in Tom's River. It's cheaper down there, but they have like these various villages, senior villages, like Holiday City and things like that. And they're cottages and just exactly what you're talking about, these small plots. And the homes are like, it's like $85,000, $125,000 compared to, you know, regular neighborhoods that have much more expensive family homes.
Yeah,
I think
I
that
mean-
would be,
yeah.
but we want mixed housing, don't we?
Well, I think you have to. I mean, you can't with 4C just have,
No.
I think you have to do mix, you have to. But I think that's also the ideal, is that you have multiple generations, you
I
have
think so too.
coffee shops, you have, you know, I mean, that's something that, you know, this property up past Governor's Landing, that might be, you know, I think there was some stuff on for sale up there. You know, we had talked, I think, early on about a town-owned parcel, going down Westboro Road, almost in Westboro. It's kind of long, but we had talked about, this is when we're doing the housing production plan, of doing what Gina's talking about, but multi-generational, you do this loop. Because it's a site that has fairly narrow frontage, but opens up and back. And you have mixed use, so you have younger generations like teachers with kids, you know, like older people. And people have their own little units. We could do that with, you know, it's like we can be creative and vision stuff. So these are smaller scale.
Yeah.
And so are they economically feasible to a developer? And that's like one of the things I was thinking, if we could get town land. And if we could seed it by doing the feasibility, engineering, environmental, and just say here, you know, was there Pulte, whoever, this is live. This is a live.
Sorry.
We're on,
Sorry.
you know, but any developer who's interested,
Forgot that.
and we say here, you know, is this something that if we give you land and give you X amount of money,
Mhm.
do you want to, you know, is this something you could do? Because that might make it economically.
Okay, you foreseeing affordable units and market units, or all affordable?
I would like to do it all affordable.
Mhm.
But if you're talking about the one you would in Medway, is that all apartments?
All affordable.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
apartments,
yeah, yeah. You know, but houses, townhouses, you know, I mean, again, if we're doing multi-generation, you know, you have people coming in that have no assets. You have young people who is like, I don't know how much you have banked away. But, you know, it's like, it's a start. You own something. And, you know, it's affordable.
I wish we could get something built downtown. I really do, because being near some kind of services can make a huge difference. It's not easy to be shoved out right on the edge of town, especially if you're an older person.
It just, I mean, they're building the new, you know, behind the funeral home. which some people said is too far of a walk from downtown.
I mean, that's
And I call them a wuss.
It depends on who you are, but generally speaking, it's not that far, is it?
Yeah, but,
The
you know,
walk down is easier. than-
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
but,
What's going on with is it the economic EOCD and the
that's why I started.
church,
Oh,
Oh,
Sure.
good grief.
they're looking
town
at,
hall,
yeah,
the Angels?
they're looking at arts, you know, feasibility for.
Oh, just for the church,
Yeah.
not that whole block.
I think it's just.
We were-
sure.
we were-
No, so, but all things are correct.
Yeah.
I was working with BSC Group through, which is an engineering firm through, the Economic Development Committee to evaluate, redevelopment of Holy Angels and that extended block, that incorporates the two municipal lots on Grove Street. So that's just feasibility planning to understand, what could potentially be built in that area. And I forget, I'm still waiting for the final report on that, so I don't have a total of like the total amount of housing units that we could get, in the developments, for that. So that is being evaluated. I submitted an AMRAD, which is a resource delineation plan to the Conservation Commission as a result of that plan to delineate the boundaries of the water resource area that accompanies the brook there. Because that's been a bone of contention and a big reason why developers haven't been interested in specifically Holy Angels is not knowing what they can do because of the jurisdiction of Conservation Commission. So then there is a group in town that's either has formed or is forming a nonprofit and is interested in obtaining Holy Angels Church in order for to do some sort of.
I think it's in the process. I don't think
Yeah.
they've gotten their 501.
So they are interested in taking over that property in order to do some sort of arts center collaborative. Similar to, I would say, Apple Tree Arts in Grafton. But there's no commitment from the select board on that idea as of right now, so.
And town meeting did vote to look at the feasibility of having, you know, the structural integrity of the
Yes.
church, to even see if it could be reused for any,
Mhm.
you know, so I think that,
Yeah, we're reevaluating the actual structural integrity, like you said, of the church itself. But that report is also gonna generate information regarding how much it's going to cost. Not only to do the improvements that are required that the town was informed about back in the 2019 study, which that did the exact same thing. But how much it's going to cost to bring that property up to code. So not just like structural integrity, right? Not just repointing the foundation and securing joists or sistering joists and all those sorts of structural activities. But also, what's it gonna cost to get an HVAC system in there? What's it gonna cost to get,
handicapped accessibility.
yeah, make it accessible? That's a big portion of it too, make it accessible. And I think there's a few other points to it, not like, not even move-in ready for like a new use, just like bring it up to like some sort of base code of acceptableness.
Did you say it was 2019 that our study was done?
Mhm.
And what was the bottom line then? Can you remember?
Oh, I don't remember.
But that's where they recommended painting, which hasn't been done.
No, that was 2
I think
years
so,
ago.
yeah.
That was it last year.
No, they haven't
It was in
painted it.
2019.
They haven't painted.
I know they haven't painted it. Yeah, believe me, I know they haven't. It's probably going to be in the millions, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Because I think the 2019 report was over $1 million.
This one, well, yeah.
That was a.
You know, I mean, the other thing that folks may want to consider, and I haven't gotten back to folks, but there is going to be a visioning session for the West Upton
Oh, yeah, thank you.
economic development. And, you know, there's always the possibility, because there are two possible locations for affordable housing.
Yeah.
You know, and we had talked about, and this has been talked about at public meetings before, doing some sort of switch with Conservation Commission on Pleasant Woods, which is behind, it's owned by, it's conservation land behind Coach Roads.
Oh.
So that whole area there
Really?
is, is public space. It's not used. If you go up to Warren Street, there's an entrance, but that's a very small area. The problem is, if you look at it, it goes up
Yeah,
and there's a lot of ledge.
yeah.
And one of the things that, someone raised, that was on the housing, what was it, the ad hoc, the housing planning.
The steering committee for
Yes,
the housing production
yeah,
plan.
yeah. Was talking about was that the current, senior housing down there is obsolete. It's not, the units aren't handicapped accessible. It's really, it was built a long time ago and there's been very little done. So what she had suggested was just start all over again. Tear those down, build backwards. No, I mean, but the thing is, that there's going to need at some point some significant restoration renovations. And does it make sense to wrap that all into one? That's something we can look at. There's also the longstanding, and nothing has happened there in so long, but there's all that property where the post office now is, it was all privately owned, except for the restaurant. And talking to the owner about, that, I think right now he's plans for something there, but
Yeah, I seem to remember hearing something.
but that's been gossiped about for like 2 years. So I don't know, I mean, is there anything going with, so it's just been sitting there, the post office is still there and the little dry cleaner is still there. And everyone's happy and has their fingers crossed, but that's
We
all.
don't want to lose post office, do we?
Huh?
We don't want to lose the post office.
No, you just move it. I mean, the post office.
Just move it where?
Well, a long time ago, there's gonna be a development going in, they've been talking about at the bottom of Prospect Street,
Hmm.
like across from,
The gas station.
across from the where the culvert project is going on,
Okay.
where all the little, if you're going up 140,
Mhm.
past the community center.
Yeah.
On your right-hand side, I'm challenged in terms of right and left. So on your right-hand side, I have to pledge allegiance to the flag. There's this little site before you go up the hill that
Yeah,
has these little pine trees.
Yeah.
I think there's been talk for a long time about, and then I thought that was moving forward. It was talking about putting some sort of amenities there, like, and then I think like 2 years ago, 3 years ago,
what sort of amenities?
it's like little coffee shop, housing,
Oh,
all
that's
sorts of
development.
different,
Yeah.
little development. That might be a good place for it. Someone else had talked about doing it way back when, up on, past Governor's Landing or where Governor's Landing was.
Yeah. Makes more sense.
Putting a little, thing with, a little restaurant, some stuff up there that would, but then if we're doing O'Brien's, talking about something like a community type thing, you could put, some of these things in there too. So, there are options to look at, and I think we need to start looking at these. Some of them are pie in the sky. I don't know what land is going for now. I don't know what land is for sale. I mean, when we were doing the housing production plan, we were talking about the Cook property, we talked about this property. It's like people knew all these people that historically own property. I do not. So I didn't know what the hell they were talking about, but there's all sorts of parcels out there. I don't know if they're on the sale, on the market. I think for a while, the place where at the top of the hill going towards Milford, where the rock place is, where you can get, I think that was for sale for a while.
Hmm.
But it got bought by someone else who's doing rocks. So. But I think, but,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
so yeah, I mean,
MHP, Mass Housing Project.
Yeah. Partnership,
Partnership.
Yeah.
They offer technical assistance, and you guys might know this, for this type of housing to husband trust that we want to move forward. How do we do that? So it's a guide to do it, not like our action plan is identifies. I take it from the little I've read about it, it's more of a hands-on direction. Okay, do an inventory of land. Evaluate,
What's feasible? what's-
yeah, what you could do.
Mhm.
Feasibility studies. Now, I'm not sure if they still have the money or not, but I used to get emails frequently from them.
They're still doing that program.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just need to get pointed into a direction of, of a particular project, so you can ask for pointed help.
Mhm.
Yeah, and we apply for something.
I wonder if we could just do it as that we need to move forward
Mhm.
on a larger project.
Mhm.
And we need to kind of like help in guiding us of how to do that.
Okay.
Because I think that's, as you mentioned, this idea, and there's a lot of good ideas.
Yeah.
But I think we need someone to be the funnel and help us, hey,
Do you want
do
to,
this.
I mean, do you want to, you have the housing production plan, now you now have the action plan, kind of comb through that first and see how this trust wants to proceed next? Whether,
The housing production plan actually identified a lot of these parcels. A lot of the sites that, the town-owned sites that were available, and I think we also identified non-town parcels too, correct?
I think so.
Because I think we did, but it would be good to, maybe get some funds to come up with a strategy, which I don't think we've done yet for a town like Upton.
Yeah, that's the issue, isn't it? I mean, talking about Medway, and that sounds like it's a wonderful thing. But Medway is a great deal bigger than Upton, isn't it?
Not much.
Not much.
No?
No.
What's the population, do you know? Ish.
Not,
12,
But they also got a lot more, they have a lot more
business.
businesses, yeah.
But the project he was talking about is something I think that Upton would be receptive to, because again, was a cluster of,
Oh, yeah, I'm not saying it's a
Yeah.
great idea, I just wondered if we can do it.
I think we could, I think that's a.
well, I think that's this type of expertise would help us guide, working with, especially with
Yeah.
Mike and Lauren, to say, yeah, so we don't go off wild goose chases. We go on practical searches.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think that listening to the people that developed it, the housing trust, they relied on MHP and then the resources that they brought. And then they got the developers. It was Metro West Developer, I think. And they're just focused on affordable housing. And there's developers that are only affordable housing developers. And the magic they bring is they know how to fund it. They know where those tax
Yeah,
credits
that's true.
are,
It's a good
the
point.
federal, the state, and how to go about getting it. And what size, and that's where they talk about the sweet spot. And they said it's 60+ units to make it feasible for a developer and leverage the.
Is
tax
it
credits.
all rental units or is it?
It was all rental.
So do you, any idea what the rents are like?
No.
But the thing is, I think that one of
Actually,
the
I think it
things,
has a nose, but I can't.
but I think in Upton, one of the things that we haven't really talked about when we talked about affordable housing is specifically seniors. Because I think that changes the discussion. Even though I know Locust Air, will go in and retrofit any of these units for an eligible senior. Those units are not specifically, and I think what Brian was talking about, because there just are a lot of people in Upton that really,
I'm concerned though that we're going to be building too much senior housing and not bringing young people into
well, you
this town.
do
That really
multi-generation.
bothers me.
Yeah, but you do multi-generation.
I mean, it's a bit like closing the stable door of the horses bolted because I didn't one, but mine was the first and I didn't expect all the rest of them to suddenly come down the pike.
But you do, well, that's because we have a 55+ bylaw. So this allows development.
Yeah, exactly, but that's,
Yeah,
for a
so,
lot of developers, that's a sweet spot.
well, none of that stuff is affordable.
Oh, well, some of the units up at, what's it called?
One.
Thingy Ridge. Oh, only one? No, surely.
How many units are there?
120.
Well, where's that?
Upton Ridge?
Upton Ridge, that's it. Yeah, Upton
Do you know
Ridge.
how many affordables were up to? I thought
There's
it
more
was
than one.
a couple.
Yeah, it wasn't a lot.
Might be like 10.
Yeah, I was gonna say maybe 10. I'm sure I have the number somewhere.
There's 104 total minutes. Something like that. I was looking at it.
Is Governors Landing ever going to get built? Oh. Okay.
I don't know. I assume.
So on that, looking at MHP for technical assistance, or if there's other agencies, you want to help on that, or you guys do that?
What are you asking?
Applying.
Applying for technical assistant?
Yeah.
grant? I think
Um,
that's what they called it.
no, we can do that. That, you know, I'll share it with you, obviously. And if you just wanna. Well, why don't we take, we'll bring it up. I don't think it's a very complicated, document that we'd started looking at it before.
Oh, good.
And yeah, I feel like it'd be good to have, again, some sort of direction rather than just kind of asking for general help.
Yeah,
But,
I think, in my mind, I think we have a very specific question,
okay,
is that we have formed an affordable housing trust. We're meeting regularly, we understand our resources,
mhm,
we have a project that took too much time,
mhm,
and that's moving forward. And we have, this part I don't know if it's true, is our goal to, well, obviously provide affordable housing, but is it also to try to get to that 10% to avoid chapter 40B as quickly as possible? I think that's an important question, because if it is, then that's 100% affordable housing units, right? That's the type of project.
no, if you're doing an apartment, it's complex, it's 25%, and all of them is affordable.
Which is ridiculous. I don't
That's
understand.
what's going on.
But no, I'm saying it for us,
Yeah.
right? If we're looking for projects, right?
Yeah.
Right. And then we specify, that's kind of like our specific ask. Where in town can we do that, your experience? Or are we looking for a development on like 40B? I'm not sure if that's the right
Just,
word, where we want them to do 15 to 20% of those units. And that's progress. We'll get grandfathered, what would we call that? Safe harbor.
Safe harbor.
So that's good. So I think we have some questions of ourselves. As
Yeah.
Affordable Housing Trust is the direction. As fast as possible to get to the 10%? Or do we do more mixed units where it's marketplace, market rent, market
Well,
units?
if you're talking, again, if you're talking apartments, like talking apartment complex, let's say you put 100 in.
Hmm.
The mandate is 25% have to be affordable, but all towards your affordable housing. So if you put 62 units in or 100 units in, we're gold,
Hmm.
even though only 25% affordable. So I think if you have anyone coming in to do any affordable housing, that's something that, especially doing apartments, they're one and the same, doing them fast or just doing them. I think if doing
So,
houses.
but is that our strategy? It's to, like, I think that's why it's important to say, if it's to get to the 10% goal, to avoid developers coming in 40B, right? If that's, and also maybe up to the willingness to accept this, then maybe whatever those type of units are called, where you get to 25% or 20% affordable, and then you get the other 60 counting on your SHI.
Yeah.
However, we didn't really achieve, we didn't maximize the opportunity to get all 60 as affordable.
yes.
So I think as a trust, because those will change the type of project we look at, in my view. Because we're in Medway, that was all affordable. But to your point, though, you can achieve, if it's SHI and trying to avoid that, to reach that 10%. And acceptance of the citizenship, then maybe it's best to go the route that you just mentioned.
No, the only reason I was raising that is that it's been my experience from talking to people that they need to do the market rates in order to make the affordables economically feasible.
But Brian said.
But that's a
that
different type
is-
of project.
That's a different type of project, but, my recommendation, and I'm sure people, is I think that our mandate is to look at building affordable housing.
Absolutely.
And my preference would be strategic. And if we're building a 25 unit cluster village rather than 100, I mean, that would be my preference, say what strategies can get us to provide adequate affordable housing for our residents.
I totally agree with that. I think we shouldn't get sidetracked by the 10%. I know we have to do it, but that shouldn't be our raison d'etre. Our raison d'etre is to build affordable housing, period. It'd be great to get to the 10%, but that shouldn't be the main goal.
I
And I agree.
I agree with this on being goal. I think it's important to keep that in mind. Just keep
Well, any affordable housing we build
Uncontrollable.
is gonna increase our, because they keep on building great bloody houses, so we keep on falling behind with that.
Yeah.
But
So
maybe what we need to do first is identify 2 or 3 parcels of land, preferably town owned, so I don't have to buy it. Hope not anyway, that could be used for affordable housing, and then go to these people and say, look, we have these 3 parcels. Can you come and help us decide which is the best for us to develop? What are the fors and against and all the rest of it? I agree with Michael, we do need something a bit more specific.
And what we can do to help make it feasible.
Yeah,
You know, it's like if he did the engineering, he did the site, got it cleared.
Mhm.
Basically said, okay, it's got a perk, you can put, if it's not on the survey, you can put this here.
So I think there just needs to be agreement on what the next step is, because you have so many options, and I've been combing through the housing production plan. I mean, you have non-land specific goals of like a down payment program, things like that, and so you're just kind of acting as more of a not a lender, but exactly. And then there's the more concrete projects of you either have land or you want to obtain land and actually partner with somebody or just spearhead an actual development. And I think it'd probably be good to identify which one of those you really want to take on next. If it is a more concrete development that you want to pursue next, I agree with Jeannie that we should maybe be looking at the parcels that we already have under our control as a town, and pursuing those. Yeah.
That's what I would.
Yeah.
So I think we're ready to ask the question at least.
Yeah.
Because this is where we are as an affordable housing trust. This is what we have for land.
Mhm.
Help us decide, can we do something with those parcels of land
Mhm.
and how to work with developers.
Yeah.
Affordable, well, I think we heard we want to maximize our affordable housing.
Yeah.
And so maybe that's 100% the goal of all those units. And then that will help them also determine, all right, how do we go about doing that? And it's especially in today's world with maybe some of these credits being reduced.
Are there folks that do affordable housing development in towns like Upton? I know Worcester, I used to work with the Maine South Community Development Cooperative.
Brad, who was it, Metro West?
Metro West.
What do they do in Upton? Because Upton is fairly high income, so a lot of places that do that, like tax.
Well, they
credits
did
and
the
stuff.
Medway.
I don't think
Yeah.
Medway's low income.
No,
Really? Okay.
No.
I don't know, it's actually.
it'd be probably similar to us, or
Okay.
maybe
I
it's
thought it
closer to
was
Boston.
a little lower.
Things have changed.
And
there
there
is
is
high
another
variety
two
vote.
developers and that's where I learned, I didn't realize that there's companies that all they do is affordable housing development.
I think it'd be good to get some names of some of those.
Yeah.
So we can also, you have the name of the people that did Medway. It might be interesting to talk to them.
And then that's where I think this technical assistance, they could guide us,
Yeah.
because they already know who we
Yeah.
are.
Yeah.
And then who's.
Yeah.
For certain towns, or maybe,
Yeah.
like you said, maybe it's regions.
Because even if their sweet spot is 60 units, if it's in the right spot, and if it, I think if it's integrated into the community, then you have people that oppose it, but if it's part of the community, like that has, like the post office, if it has a cafe, if it has something that people,
That'd be great. The
Would go to.
In the Holy Angels, that block.
Yeah.
Great.
that would be great. That was sort of a vision I had a long time ago, but-
Yeah, well, that's going back to the number we first thought of, isn't it?
but there's a whole parking issue there.
Parking garage.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we talked about that too, didn't we?
People park their boats under. the
Yeah.
premises, Yeah. But, you look at West Upton, what possibilities are there. So maybe you had something that you could knit, that was part of the community rather than.
Stuck out in the middle of nowhere.
Like
Well,
Coach Road fits in nice.
Even the ones that we have, the two, 149 Main
Yeah.
and the one behind, they're parcels
Yeah.
that have housing, period.
Yeah,
And no one ever goes there unless you live there.
yeah, that's true.
And what I'm thinking is the one you're talking about seemed to be a more visible,
Well, it was on the edge of the town,
it was on the edge of the town.
and one of the butters was the gas line,
Oh,
What if you got?
so they didn't.
Con Ed was a
Yeah.
good old Connie. But yeah, I actually agree with Brian. So I think we're ready. I think we just need to,
Identify some land.
I mean, do you want to sketch out a proposal? Like just sort of exactly
Sure.
what we're looking for and then
You guys to edit,
Do we need the parcels to be identified first?
we have them. We have parcels. I mean, that can be part, I mean, the housing production plan identified parcels
Yeah, no.
that were town owned.
So we're gonna specify them in this proposal?
Well, I think when Brian comes up with something,
Okay.
figure out if we want them to review the,
Anywhere
Town
along
side.
140 would be a good idea.
uh,
Anywhere along 140 would be a good idea.
yeah.
Sorry?
I still remember town meeting where there was such objections to doing stuff on, because 140 is already too heavy with traffic.
Oh, please, it's so ridiculous.
This is the town-owned parcel on Westboro Road. It's over 12 acres. It's like 12 point something. I'll share my screen so Gina's. Gina's.
Thank you.
Yeah, 12.6.
And it is on the outskirts of Upton,
Yes,
but
that's good.
where's the frontage? Where's Westboro Road?
This is Westboro Road, this like orange
And how,
colored road.
okay, yeah,
So where's the frontage then? How would you get
Right
it?
here.
right, no, it's that white space, the
Oh,
green
that's
space is town owned.
So it looks like there's some
Oh, sorry.
wetlands maybe on the property, but again, it's 12.6.
But if you did a circular driveway or a cul-de-sac back there, you know,
Maybe it's not as developable as,
I
Doesn't look
think
it,
it
right?
was.
Really?
I think there was some wetlands there.
did the town do any sort of like, I don't know, just some due diligence before buying it in regards to that, like,
Good question.
I assume it was tax title if that's where it is.
oh, okay,
I mean, that's my
Okay.
assumption
Yeah,
is that,
okay.
and it's not owned even though it's right near town owned property, it's not part of it, so.
Where else is there, Michael?
There was a small parcel on North Street that was like only like 3 acres. But I was just going off of the housing production plan and what was mentioned. So like, it says generally the town center. That's what it suggests. It says Route 140 corridor. It doesn't identify particular parcels.
Okay.
The general business zoning districts. Again, but doesn't give parcels. It says there's a stretch of Westboro Road in the northern section of town that may have opportunities for new housing. And I think that's it.
Yeah.
What I just showed, and then Pleasant Woods, which is what you were talking about, which is the 33 acres that are
Up the hill?
behind, up the hill, which, you know, a quarter of that is buildable because it's steep slope, not much of it.
And you have to blast.
have you heard of, Healy came out with not abandoned, excess state property and making it available for affordable housing.
Oh, I hadn't heard about that, no.
Yeah.
Look at that.
I don't know if that was
That was a couple
state
places.
forest, because we have so much state forest,
No, she was talking about like Old State Hospital.
state hospital, like
Old
Westboro.
State, yeah.
Midfield.
She's
So
talking,
she only, properties, built.
yeah, not
Not
just
just, the-
state forest.
right.
But I'm just, I don't know if Upton might have some that aren't state forest. State forest is a very specific designation. I mean, Upton may have some. Do we have any state land on our cherry sheet or anything that's not state forest?
You get the DOT piece of land on Route 140, but not that I'm aware of land
Is that
that,
garage still there?
yeah.
Elected.
I think so, yeah.
Oh, so it's not abandoned.
No, I don't think there's any abandoned state property in town.
On the
You know, it'll,
little chart, I didn't see anything under.
yeah. What I will do is look at, since it's hard to do through this system, I can't like sort through like by owner and have it highlight what parcels, but I can do that on my GIS program. So maybe I can generate a listing of all state and town-owned properties in the town. And we can begin to evaluate that, and we can cross-reference that with the open space map, showing the properties that are, have protections. So we can identify the properties that don't have those protections that may be open to developments.
Because the other thing was, because I've talked to them several times, because it's never moved, is they'd be open to make transfer land because they have some priority land they would like to get. And, so you sort of do a trade. It's like, okay, we'll give you Pleasant Woods, but there's this tax title piece of land on North Street that we want. So the town gives us this, we'll give you that. So, that's also an option.
Definite possibilities.
And now we can start looking, well, hopefully we can start looking at this.
I mean, do you want to reach out to conservation as a trust as well and like be put onto their agenda or
Yeah.
and have,
Why don't we do that?
Yeah.
To talk about not just Pleasant Woods, but I've had sidebar conversations with people on Concom, but I don't think I've ever officially brought it up at a meeting.
I'll mention it to Mary, the agent.
Because that piece of land you're looking at off of Westbrook Road.
Yeah,
That has access to Westbrook Road, right? And
Yeah.
behind that is state forest.
Yeah.
Yep.
So they might be interested in that piece,
Yeah.
if it's not suitable for development.
oh, right, yeah.
Stay far.
Absolutely.
We looked at it, it was suitable. You do have the wetlands, as you can see, you do have the
Yeah.
wetlands going in there. But what we had talked about was going in and doing this was my fantasy, and doing this like cul-de-sac around the back, like this circle, and have these little town, like Gina had mentioned, these little
Hmm.
tall houses that could be multi-generational. And, like put 24, 30 in there. And,
My only issue with it is it's so far out of town. It's the other one's right on the edge of town.
but it's not,
They're not going to come into Upton to do
Well,
that.
we will need more housing, so this would be 24
Yeah.
units, and, a lot of people would love to live right next to the state forest, it'd be a very desirable place for people to live. And so I think that, I don't think we can preclude it, because it's not the
Oh,
town.
no, it wouldn't be my preference. It still wouldn't be my preference.
How about Milton Rustine, is that something
Hello.
eventually?
I was just gonna suggest that you can start approaching the select board about this whole block. I mean, and Christine is, I don't say it's up for grabs, but like, there's no plan currently as to what exactly to do with it. The only plans that are being made right now are to potentially move the museum down to the first floor where the library used to be.
And do what?
The historical museum,
No, I mean,
And that's it.
but that's it for as far as,
Milton Rustine goes.
Yeah.
well, couldn't that be used as affordable housing?
Well, no, we just talked about that, so we're talking about, is looking at that whole parcel, including
And then
Milton.
this,
I mean, the parking again is a bit of an issue, but that seems to be a brilliant way to, if they move the museum down, get rid of the marble in that, and have housing in it's 2 floors above, isn't it?
yeah, it's 2 floors. Yeah.
That would be fantastic.
I mean, it might be possible even to move the museum over to Grange or another town, town building.
For sure, this is a good.
I think it would be fantastic use of the space.
Mhm.
So that's, and then, but there's other spaces in that block, which we, if we did want to look at it, where you could put parking, where you could put other things there.
And it's very central, which is what I like.
Is there anything, reason why we're not tearing down Holy Angels? I know there's people who don't want to.
Well, the reason is because the town voted to evaluate it. So that's what we're doing.
I think, to be honest with you, the evaluation is going to be very chilling.
So it could get torn down, and then that would be
And what it's gonna tell you is the cost.
Yeah, well, I think it's gonna be prohibitive, but we shall see.
Okay, well, we have a planning board meeting starting in 5 minutes. So, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
I,
Okay, all those in
Adjourn.
favor, second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor, Gina?
Bye.
We're adjourning. Okay, Jeannie?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Bye.